Today for Purim we discuss an interesting sugya that appears in Maseches Megillah Daf Zayin. Rabbi says, "Mechayev inish levesumi bepurai adelo yada ben aruhaman lebauch." Mordechai wanted to drink on Purim so much so that he can't distinguish between cursed is Haman and blessed is Mordechai. But right after this, the Gemara tells a story. Rabbi and Reb Zeira had their Purim Suda together, and apparently Rabbi had a little too much to drink, and Rabbi shechted Reb Zeira. This is what the Gemara says. Rabbi slaughtered Reb Zeira. The following day, he revived him. He performed the Tchias HaMesim, the resurrection of the dead. And Reb Zeira came back to life. This is a very, very strange Gemara, and how can we understand it? This is Rabbi. Greatest Amoira. Great people. G'dayla Yisrael. That when they drank on Purim, and when they got drunk, great things came out of their mouth. Great divrei Torah, great chidushim, sparks of purity and sanctity. They didn't take a knife into their hands and slaughter their friends. So how is it possible to believe this about Rabbi? Very hard to understand. And it's impossible to say that Rabbi just went down from his lofty level, being such a great Amoira after drinking the wine, because, as we said, the Gemara says that the following day he revived him. Tchias HaMesim, that's a level of Eliyahu HaNavi. So what happened there? So the Maharsha says this is not Kipshutim. It's not a simple understanding of reading the Gemara. There's deep secrets that are hidden here. But the Chassam Sofer says no, Kipshutim. Take it literally. And the Chassam Sofer brings an unbelievable thing from his Rebbe, the Aflo. In Chulin Daf Ches Amud Aleph, the Gemara asks, if one takes a boiling shchita knife and shechts the behemoth with it, is it kosher or not? What are the sides of the question? What came first? What killed the animal? Is it the heat of that boiling knife, and then the shchita would be not kosher? Or was it the sharpness of the knife, and then it would be a kosher shchita? And Reb Zeira in the Gemara says, if one shechts with a boiling knife, it is kosher. Meaning that it's not the heat that killed the animal, it's the sharpness of the knife. But how does Reb Zeira know? How does Reb Zeira know what came first? When the knife touched the neck of the behemoth, what happens there exactly? How does Reb Zeira know? Says the Baal HaFlo, because Reb Zeira remembers what happened to him when Rava shechted him. It was with a boiling knife. That is what the Baal HaFlo says. So according to that, according to the Chassam Sofer, this story is real, and how do we understand it? So there's a few ways to understand it, but first let's examine who Reb Zeira is, the greatest tzaddik. In Maseches Bab Metzia Pei, the Gemara says, Reb Zeira fasted 100 days before he came to Eretz Yisrael. So you should forget the style of learning in Bavel. So you'd be ready for the Torah of Eretz Yisrael. He fasted another 100 days. So Rabbi Eliezer should not die when he's still around. So the yoke of burden of being involved in public matters shouldn't fall on his shoulders. As an aside, you see from here that it's better to fast 100 days than to be appointed as a chief rabbi. And he fasted another 100 days to make sure that the fire of Gehenna does not rule over him. And in fact, the Gemara says, once a month, once every 30 days, he would go into a furnace to check that in fact the fire doesn't do anything to him. And the fire didn't do anything to him. Amazing tzaddik. But who knew all this? No one. Except Rava, his good friend Rava. And now on Purim, they're having the Suda together, Reb Zeira and Rava. And apparently Rava had a little too much to drink. And Rava gets up and says to everybody there, my friends, do you know who this Reb Zeira is that is sitting here with us? You think he's another great rabbi? Much more than that. He is a tzaddik of the highest level. Do you know that he keeps fasting? He fasted 100 days for this, and 100 days for this, and another 100 days for this. And you know that when he goes into a burning furnace, nothing happens to him. He's such a big tzaddik. And everybody looks at Rabbi and says, come on. Human being goes into a fire and nothing happens to him. How can that be? And Rabbi says, I'll prove it to you. And then Rabbi says, wait a second, says a Kal Vachomer. In Sanhedrin Mem Tes Amud Beis we learn the prioritization of the four capital punish executed by Beis Din, Alba Misos Beis Din, and we learned that Sreifa is more strict, it's more chamur than Saif. Fire is more strict, more severe than a sword. Everybody agrees, both Tarakama and Reb Shimon, even though they dispute about other prioritization of the other capital punishments, but they both agree. Sreifa, fire, is more severe than the sword. Says Rava, wait a second, I can prove it to you guys. If fire doesn't touch Reb Zeira, I can take a sword and surely nothing will happen to him. A sword is a lighter type of death, easier than fire. And if the fire doesn't do anything to Reb Zeira, obviously the sword won't do anything to him. And therefore Rava takes a sword and shechts Reb Zeira. Oops, the Kal V'chomer, his whole calculation didn't work. But why is it that it didn't work? The Kal V'chomer seems logical, it seems to make sense. Why didn't it work? A few ways to try and figure that one out. Rava had a great Kal V'chomer, had a great calculation, but he didn't take into consideration one point. Fire and a sword held by a human being are different. Fire doesn't have free choice, doesn't have Bchira Choifshis. A person who is holding a sword does. In fact, let's look at the Or HaChaim HaKodesh of Parshas Vayeshev, and he explains why is it that Reuven suggested to the brothers, let's throw Yosef into the pit. But Chazal tell us that there are snakes and scorpions there, so they will kill Yosef. So what's the difference if he will be killed by his brothers or by the snakes and scorpions? Says the Or HaChaim HaKodesh, there's a big difference. Because his brothers are Baalei Bchira Choifshis, they have free choice, and they, in fact, if they want to kill him, they will. They'll be successful in doing so. But snakes and scorpions, they don't have Bchira Choifshis. They don't have free will. And if Yosef is a tzaddik, he's going to be thrown in there with the snakes, and nothing will happen to him. That's why he suggested this. Now back to Rabbi and Reb Zeira. Reb Zeira goes into a furnace once every month. But that's fire. That's in the hands of Hashem. And if Reb Zeira is a tzaddik, and in fact he is, nothing happens to him. He's sitting right there. Fire around him. Doesn't do anything to him. But Rava is a human being. He's holding a sword in his hands and he has free will. And if he wants to shech Reb Zeira, he may be successful in doing so. And in fact, he was. That's why his Kal V'chomer didn't work. That's one way of understanding it. Another way. Reb Zeira, as we said, was a big tzaddik, but no one knew his great tzidkus. No one knew except Rava, his great things that he does. And when Reb Zeira heard Rava telling everybody around, this guy is such a tzaddik. Oh, what he does, he goes into the furnace, nothing happens to him. Fire can't touch him. Reb Zeira lifted his eyes to the heavens and said, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, please, don't let this be revealed. I want to remain, the simple Reb Zeira that I am, that people don't know what a great tzaddik I am. He was very humble. HaKadosh Baruch Hu listens to those who fear him and daven to him, as the pasuk says, Ritzon Yereh Yaseh, he fulfills the wishes of those who fear him. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, fine. The only way to accept that prayer is to allow Rava to be able to execute what he's trying to do. If Rava won't be successful in shechting Reb Zeira, so everybody will know Reb Zeira, in fact, is a tzaddik. You see, the sword doesn't do anything to him, fire doesn't do anything to him. It's unbelievable. But if Rava will be able to shecht Reb Zeira, people will see that what Rava said before wasn't really so. It's not true. And Reb Zeira probably doesn't go into a fire, and if he would, it would be burnt. So the only way to accept Reb Zeira's prayer, and he's asking, Kadosh Baruch Hu, I want this not to be revealed to others, is to allow Rava to be successful in shechting Reb Zeira, and in fact, Rava was. So who shechted Reb Zeira? Not Rava. Reb Zeira himself, by saying that prayer that he did. If Thomas Zatzal had an invention, a different way of understanding things here. When it says that Rava killed Reb Zeira, it doesn't literally mean that he killed him. In Bab Metzia Nun Ches, Chazal say, if one embarrasses someone publicly, it's as if he killed him. So Rava and Reb Zeira are having their Purim party together. Rava drank a little too much wine, and they're arguing about a Dvar Torah, and apparently Rava said something to Reb Zeira in a not nice way enough to Reb Zeira. Wasn't respectful enough. He embarrassed him with that, and it's considered as if he killed him. The following day, Rava goes back to Reb Zeira and says, please forgive me. Be moichel me. I'm so sorry about what I said. And that is called that he revived him. Tchiyas HaMeisim. That's what the Gemara means. But there's another fourth way of understanding it. When one does what he does, L'Shem Shamayim, truly L'Shem Shamayim, without anyone knowing, he receives extra loads of Siyata Dishmayim, special heavenly assistance. When one does what he does L'Shem Shamayim, he always is assisted by Shamayim, but when no one knows about it, there's an extra measure of Siyata Dishmayim. What do we mean? Ibn Zion Feldman Zatzal of Nebak, one of Gedolei Yisrael, had an old father in Tel Aviv who was a rabbi of a kehillah, and we became old. He wasn't able to give the shiurim that he always used to, and the congregation wanted to fire him. So Ibn Zion came to the congregation and asked him, maybe I could do what my father used to do here. I'll help him out. And they accepted. So he came from Bnei Brak to Tel Aviv every single Shabbos for more than 15 years to deliver some shiurim on Shabbos. Every single Shabbos, hundreds and hundreds of Shabbos, it's more than 15 years. And he has such a special Siyat Dishmayim. He didn't even get one drop of rain on him in more than 15 years. Imagine, in the middle of the winter, it's going an hour and a half each direction. Never got wet. After 15 years, somebody once came to Ibn Zion Feldman and said to him, you know, the mitzvah of kibbutz is so hard for me. My father's driving me crazy. Maybe Ibn Zion can give me some chizuk. Rabbi should say something to be mechazik me. And Ibn Zion Feldman told him all about the greatness of the mitzvah of kibbutz. He gives longevity. It's a great mitzvah. And this guy keeps pressuring him. Tell me more. Tell me more. And Ibn Zion said, hey, look at me. You know what I do for my father? I go an hour and a half each direction. I've been doing it for more than 15 years. And you know, no one knows about this. But I have a special protection from Shamayim because of this mitzvah. And I never get wet. But guess what happened the following Shabbos? The secret is out. Next Shabbos, Ibn Zion Feldman went to his father. Pouring rain. And he got soaked. So much so he couldn't even come back on Shabbos. He had to wait until Motzei Shabbos. But wait a second, what happened? Oh, he did what he did L'Shem Shamayim. He did it to help his father, Kivudav. That's true. That's true. But it's not B'tzina anymore. It's not hidden. People know about this. The secret is out. And when the secret is out, you lose that extra measure of Siyata Dishmaya that he had until now. Yes, it's L'Shem Shamayim. He's a great tzaddik. He still is. But the extra layer of protection one has when he does what he does, L'Shem Shamayim, is gone when people know about it. So Rabbi Zeira had a special Siyata Dishmaya, and the fire can't touch him. Why? Because nobody knows about it. But now, the Rabbi tells everybody what this man is really all about. He's a tzaddik, unbelievable tzaddik. And the secret is out. He doesn't have that extra layer of protection. And the sword can penetrate and kill him. So after we discuss the shechita aspect, slaughtering of Rabbi Zeira by Rabbi, something else that we have to discuss. Rabbi Zeira was revived the following day by Rabbi. Does he have to go and remarry his wife? Is he considered Purim Chadashos Ba'olekan? He's a new person. He died. Now a new person came, and therefore if he wants to live with his wife, he has to marry her. He has to remarry her. He has to be Mekadesh her. Or should we say no? He was on a pause. He was on a break for one day, 44 hours, and now he comes back. He doesn't have to remarry her. Says the Ben Ishchai in his Sefer Ben Yoyada. He doesn't have to remarry her. How does he know? In Masechet Shabbos, the Gemara tells us that in for Ma'amad Har Sinai, revelation on Har Sinai, the souls of Klal Yisrael departed, and then later they came back. And right after Ma'amad Har Sinai, Klal Yisrael were instructed, Shuvu lachem le'olechem, go back to your tents, and Chazal tell us, this comes to teach us that each one was with his wife, and she bore a son. You see from here, we don't know in Chazal, it doesn't say anywhere that they had to remarry all their wives. You see from here, if one's soul departs, when it comes back, he does not have to remarry his wife. And Ebed Ezer Simen Yud Zayin, he brings a different proof to that, but he comes to the same conclusion. Rabbi Zeira does not need to remarry.